Well, we've taken over the Faradite meeting room and basically turned it into a podcasting studio because the latest Gallo on the Road season, we're quite enjoying the idea of sitting down with people and talking about what they do, what the business does, rather than trying to get too technical in products. Over the years, we've learned that people want to learn about people, and also that's the fun stuff. Like all of our industry chat is about the people. Yeah. So, and all the companies you can think of, it's the personalities behind those companies that you think of. So,
true. Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you,
Gallo, Colin. You know.
I know. I'm trying to get away from it. Despite.
Yeah.
So thank you for having us. This is cool.
Well, thanks for coming.
This is awesome as well. This is
No, we did this I think a year or so ago. Just to have a little breakout space out of the office, bring people in from the outside.
Mostly for online meetings.
That was.
So you're hosting like
It's mainly training. So actually, Matt, you can talk about
that. So initially it was kind of
training
a physical meeting space, but you know what the world's like these days. You're doing as much online as you are physical.
So you're sitting in here doing training and talking through the products. And...
Yeah. So quite often, if we're onboarding a rep, onboarding a distributor, we use this space. We've got kind of a nice setup with close-ups, wider shots, so we can sort of give people a nice introduction.
I think there's some B-roll of that.
I always
cut to Matt doing some training and then back in the room.
Yeah.
I always know when Matt's got a new idea because he kind of like just circles around my desk and this kind of like, so Chris, I was just wondering.
I did the same with David.
You HDMI widget thing. How much money does it cost?
Yeah.
It's like
I basically just slide a post-it with a cost on it.
Right.
You have to have all the answers. I'm doing exactly the same with David. I go like, you know, I've got a problem with such and such. Well, I've been thinking about it.
Yeah. But he waits until we've had a good month.
Oh yeah.
But he never does it after a bad, like, not that we really have bad months, but like he waits for a really good month and then he's like, so Chris.
Yeah. That's surplus. What are we going to do?
Two new lenses last month. So it gets all the
no excuse.
Well, that's what we're doing. We're trying to take Gallo on the Road international, and one is similar idea. It's like India's going really well. Can we do?
Well,
let's go to India and do a Gallo on the Road.
I'm just getting a bit worried because we've got 4 cameras here, and I think you've only got 2. So I'm just thinking, if you only got one,
this is an camera.
This is going to cost me a lot of money. You know, I'm thinking we're going to get back in there. He's going to want more.
I don't even know what they shouldn't be looking at.
So all the different cameras.
So we've been speaking. So Faradite started what year?
2016.
Right, and that's 2016 is when we acquired Gallo.
That's when we incorporated anyway.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And we must have met at an early tech summit.
I actually can't remember where we first met, but it must.
So memorable.
It must be memorable. But it might. Yeah, I think it must have been an early tech summit. But I think I discovered Cedia even for a couple of years because I was in a completely different industry. So yeah.
So what were you doing before? Let's talk about you.
So I was working for a company called Thales or Thales, is a French company, doing kind of basically product management, but it became more of a kind of pretty Excel heavy business case signing off kind of stuff rather than actually getting involved in hardcore engineering. Yeah. So I left there to get more back
engineering.
Yes, background in engineering. So left that to get more back into the hardcore engineering, actually building and developing products. But that was in the defense and security space, so very different from what we do now. Yeah. So didn't really. So, you know, those early days were really understanding this industry, understanding about Cedia, about all the different Facebook groups and trade shows. And
it's amazing you take it all for granted.
Distributors and even how distribution works. Yeah. Yeah. You know, like I used to sell to government to government selling. Yeah.
And that was your very point.
Yeah. It was very different selling via distribution and all of that. And I think in the early days, Colin, I think that's where, you know, I think it was a tech summit when I first met you, and you seem to understand that a little bit. So I was like, oh, this guy, I need to know this guy.
I think when you've been focusing on product, I've been focusing on just.
Yeah.
And it was I think for me it was establishing patterns.
Well, you had your product. The product
was
there.
You
had the product. You kind of brought the product, right?
Yeah.
So as far as I understand,
what we acquired was
made the product,
Gallo,
and then we had to work out how to sell it. Where you were like working out how to sell it from day one.
Yes.
In a CI channel.
Yeah, and it was
which you weren't in before.
No, because Gallo was hi-fi before. So the Gallo brand was hi-fi.
Yeah.
Our history was our most recent one was Revo, the radio company that we ran for 18 years. And that was a consumer electronics. So that was John Lewis and Selfridges and these kind of places.
That's a completely different kettle of fish again.
So Gallo, what was I going to say? So we'd spent that 2-year period between acquiring Gallo and when you and I started talking.
Yeah.
And it was all about finding international distribution, because the UK, that's a kind of slow slog. You get them one by one. But if you can bring on Control 4 for Scandinavia, like Control 4 distributor for Scandinavia, then in theory you have all the customers. Like they're just there. Yeah. So when we'd spoken, I was about 18 months ahead with distribution. Yeah. And it's funny because at the time I don't think we're doing anything right, but because you've not even started that journey yet, you're looking at
my baseline for what was useful was pretty low, Colin. So
you were happy with it.
Anything, I'll take anything, you know. Yeah.
And we spoke all the way through COVID.
Yeah, trying to deal with all of that. That was, I mean, by that point, Matt was on board.
When did you start, Matt?
2019, I think.
I think, I'm sure you should have.
Was that straight from primary school, or was it? Did you?
No, kindergarten.
What were you doing before this?
Before this, I was with a manufacturer of smart home, so Loxon, with Loxon in the UK.
I knew that, yes.
Before that, I was with
Cool green brand.
Yeah, everything's green. Yeah. In fact, that's the first time you came across my radar, because my boss at the time walked into the office and threw me one of these speakers, these green yellow speakers, and I kind of caught it and was like, what the hell is this? And he...
Was that Philip somebody?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That's the very first time I saw Gallo.
And I didn't know, we just started doing custom colours, and I didn't know what Luxon was. Like, it was just a kind of techie behind the scenes thing. But the branding was so strong. I thought if I can get a couple, I just sent them a couple of green speakers to match the colour, just to see if anything could happen. Oh, that's mad.
Yeah, and that's the very first time I saw the word Gallo even.
Right, okay. And then you discovered Faradite or Faradite?
So yeah, after Loxon, I went out self-employed for a while, and I was working for Chris, kind of freelance basically. Yeah. And then I said I was off to do something else, and Chris said, well, why don't you come and join? And here we are.
It's like, no, you're not. Sit down.
Stay there. There's a laptop.
Name your number.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Luckily, I can only count to 3, so it's very cheap.
Oh, that was middle 2019.
Must have been June 2019. Yeah.
And what do you do? So what do you both do here now? How are the roles split?
Go on, you go first, Matt.
Shall I talk about you and you talk about me?
Yeah, go on. Let's do that. Yeah, that would just mix it
Chris,
up. Yeah.
As Chris said, Chris's background is very much engineering, and he doesn't like me saying this, but his engineering brain is on another level. Yeah. Now, it's not for me to say, that's not my world, my type of thinking, but Chris's attention to detail and the way he goes about solving electronics issues.
Going to get some water.
It is absolutely phenomenal. And the competency, the range of competencies you have in that space, again, is like 3 or 4 people's worth.
Yeah. So because he's also commercial, which you don't see that very often.
Exactly. Often the very techie people don't come out of the cupboard, right? They stay in the cupboard. But Chris is, your technical competency, so designing all the products, at every level, so the mechanics, the electronics, the software, the firmware is all Chris, basically, and I take photos of it.
No, that's it.
The way.
Pretty much it.
And you get all the credit for it because you're the guy that's out and about. It's the same for me. It's great.
Put a t-shirt on and cream it off the top.
I think we've got very different skill sets. I think that's the headline here, right? I'm the technical, rather anal kind of guy who wants to get everything absolutely perfect. Matt's the more creative kind of, let's get things going, let's build relationships, let's drive the business forward. Hence why Matt is in that kind of sales and marketing role, which is out and about, talking to people, working out what the market wants, coming back here and be like, yeah, Chris, you wanted to do, a slot here for X, Y, Z. That's not going to work because of this, that, and the other. So although yes, I'm doing the technical stuff, I'm leading the technical guys, Matt is very much there being like, yeah, actually that's not going to work.
He's getting real feedback from it.
He's getting real feedback, going out and do a case study this week, got that bit of feedback, bring it in, integrate that into that product planning, change the roadmap. So it's a real duo. And also I like to get everything absolutely perfect, where Matt's like a bit more 80-20. So he's like, Chris, that will do. You really don't have to use a microscope or buy a specialist microscope to look at the finish of that brass.
Chris measures denominations I didn't know existed.
Have you not realised?
Installers are not using microscopes.
Millimeters is the smallest it goes, right? And Chris,
And I'm like a millimeter. That's a big dimension. And Matt works in like inches. I'm doing it. So we're very different skill sets, but I think that's what makes it. That's what makes it work, right? We kind of bounce off each other, and
I think that the time I think for you and me, actually, we most enjoy is when we're knocking together new products, when we're sitting there
We love it.
brainstorming new products. That to me
Yes.
is, we spent all day Monday.
That's what we use this room for a lot, actually.
Yeah, okay.
I noticed that Matt
wiped
has
the
wiped cleaned our whiteboards, which is probably a very good thing.
Target
actually,
products, target customers.
Yeah.
And do you go
Spherical speakers.
Yeah.
Do you
definitely
have
wipe that one
customers
off, right?
that do you have like a little core group of customers that you can go to and say, we're thinking of this. What do you think from an installer point of view?
Yes, I think we use trade shows mainly
okay.
for that, like get a feeling of stuff.
And distributors often, because they have that
Yes, okay.
even wider
You
reach.
can share. You can share something then without worrying too much about it.
Yeah. I think the thing with
You're very. You like
I'm
to
quite close.
loose lips.
I
think
quite-
to very
well,
Steve Jobs.
I tell you why we're quite like that, and that's why I'm like, don't film in that room or that room, is because if you kind of, there's a balance, right? Because you want to talk to your customers, you want to talk to your your distributor customers, but you know what I mean, like the end integrators, whether the distributors and the reps and everyone, about what you should be developing, the direction you want to go in.
Yeah.
But if you show someone a render of a product, they think it's real.
Yes.
Like we can knock together a render of something like this, and we have. I mean, Matt does all the rendering. I do all the the mechanical, models and stuff. Yeah. You can make something that looks pretty real within like the whole entire day. And if you then share that, then people then think that's real. Yeah. And then if you then take 2 years to bring that to market, they go, well, what have you been doing?
Yeah.
And even
it's like, well, it takes that long.
Even best case scenario, they might not order us because they're waiting for something better.
Yeah.
So you just have to
It has its advantages. Like
it's hard.
Like 21 years ago, so 2004, we developed the first Revo product. It was an in-car DAB adapter. So it was bringing DAB radio to any car. Yeah. And we would take an interior photograph of a car, and we were able at that point to render the product on the car dashboard. It took like 3 days of overnights for the computer. But even back then, people were convinced. People were convinced 21 years ago that render was a real product. Now you can't tell. Like the Apple website is all, I think it's all renders pretty much. Because it's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, especially with AI now.
I know.
You can develop a product with 3 sentences, develop the image, and cool.
We did it for colours recently. Yeah. We used developing a new Lux colour coming out, looking at options for Lux colours, just churning out. Yeah. Previously, you'd go to a CAD guy and ask for renders to be produced in those 4 different Lux.
Do you do it for your April Fool's stuff?
Yeah.
Because you guys are good at doing the April Fool's, the tartan paint.
Yeah, you know what? That actually got me to go. Yeah. I was like, that's a great idea. And then I was like,
customers in Japan asking for it.
I was like, and then I realised it did take a good 5 minutes though.
That was traditional rendering. But again, now you would just churn it out in 10 seconds.
True, yeah. You could probably just throw like ChatGPT and an image of a tartan
and so here's our speaker, produce 10, like come up with the idea.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
so if everyone's doing that, I think that's why it's important to be doing this. That's why we wanted to do this format for Gallo on the Road this year, because your feed is full of AI-produced videos and images, and it's not interesting.
Not real, is it?
No. And especially when there's people, and the advantage of this tiny industry is people know who the 3 of us are. So us being on camera will let people watch this much more than a product shot.
Well, we'll see, won't we?
Find out. We'll run the stats.
Whether we're interesting or not, right? It's just like a popularity contest.
I can do more impressions.
I mean, Matt can definitely do impressions. Although Matt did an impression the other day, I think, on LinkedIn of a very prominent US person.
No. What I did.
Oh.
Here's your clickbait. So I made an AI image of the president of America holding one of our sensors, just as a kind of a piece about AI, right? It's crazy how you can knock up an image.
Yeah.
And in not too long, the comments are getting kind of polarized because it's such a horrible. Yeah. And my point was just like, look at AI, and I thought, well, who's the most famous person in the world that could hold it? And then I think I took it down after a while because I was like, it's not.
I thought LinkedIn took it down, but
it's just not worth wandering into that world. It was not making a point, but all of a sudden these people are so like.
It went.
So the comments started going 50-50 on.
They say no publicity is bad publicity. You see 1 or 2 comments and you think, I hadn't thought of that. I should probably just take this down.
Goodness, so I completely missed it.
But then it
was accurate. It looked right.
Just a photo. But the point, I guess, with that though, right, is AI is enabling people to create content without you know, you don't have to think about it that much as well. You know, like you can produce that, put it there, got it done, and then you think, oh, actually, is that really?
It's just hollow content.
It's hollow content. You've not
doesn't have any.
Like maybe a year ago when you could start doing like room sets and stuff. Like for Acrovision, we could churn out a hotel bathroom with a TV behind the mirror all day long.
Right.
But it's like junk food. It just had no value. You look at it initially like it's cool, and then you hang on a minute. It's all soft, and it's just.
I'm quite particular about that actually, about renders, using renders and real images when it comes to keypads, right? So the amount of brands I see where they have this room and then they have a keypad.
Just slightly off.
It's slightly off.
Twice as bright as it should be.
Yeah, and about 4 times bigger. And you're like, at least get the size right. Like, and that's why I'm like, Matt, I'm like, always it's real, real focus.
That's important if you're showing someone creative on the payroll rather than
and also you'll know as well as anyone, a case study isn't about going and taking photos. It's spending a whole day with your dealer, getting to know how they operate, learning what products they like. The actual content at the end is like 10% of it.
Well, and being on a site, right?
Exactly.
You know, like and being on a site, because I think that's the other thing that maybe sometimes the integrators don't not understand, but don't like think about, is the fact that we aren't on site, right? So like, for example, I take our plastering product, right, which we launched that in January. And the purpose for me of that product was, to have a completely flush aesthetic on the ceiling, right? That was like, that's what we're aiming for, right? Grail. Yeah, that's the holy grail of sensors, right? And then this one dealer, I can't remember what dealer it was, but a dealer came up to me and he's like, that is an amazing product. And I was like, oh, well, thank you, yeah. I was like, yeah, you completely flash. He's like, oh, that's nice, but actually, what's really good about that is, we can put the plasterboard up on the ceiling. We can drill a hole in the ceiling already where we want our sensor to go. We can fit the metal bit that gets plastered in. We can pull our cable through the hole and tie a knot in it, and that secured our spot on the ceiling. And I was like, what do you mean secured the spot on the ceiling? He's like, well, if we just, with your other sensor that you drill a hole after it's been plastered, right? We just put the cable behind the ceiling, then we put the plasterboard up, and we just hope we can find the cable again, and we hope a duct hasn't gone there or a speaker or something else. When with this, we actually secure our place in the ceiling. And I was thinking, that is something that I hadn't even thought about.
Yes.
Like, because we're not on site, we're not seeing these challenges.
And it's not the sort of thing you can phone a dealer and ask. It's one of those chats.
It has to come up. Yes, it has to come up. And that's the advantage of trade shows.
Exactly.
So it's like, what did you get from the trade show? Well, we never know whether these 50 new customers are going to become dealers or not, or whether that'll pay for the amount of cost of this show. But that little bit of feedback on how you steer forward makes a huge difference.
Yeah. So it's like case studies are a way of getting on site without being on site. Because sometimes, especially like if we're looking at a new space, to develop products in, part of me thinks like, oh, just phone up some of our dealers and like, can I come and work for you? I probably shouldn't promise this on a camera, right? But
do you think you do it for free? Just for feedback.
No, but in all seriousness, like actually going and working, integrating something into a system and getting that hands-on experience. That's really valuable because we don't do that. We don't do. We sit. And
a lot of time, you have to. As we said, you have to have the open dialogue for the feedback. Otherwise, you just go, I'm not using that again because it didn't work for what you need to find out the reason why they liked or didn't like something.
No,
we should we should discuss. We should go on topic and try and discuss sensors and audio and.
Oh, what the products? Well, I mean, those things.
Gallo on the Road's never been it's never really about the product, which is part of the fun. Like
100%.
If you went back to the Art of Smart videos that we're talking about earlier, it was about them talking. They were basically telling you how. The beauty of it was they were telling you how to do their job and what they did because it was just entertainment, and that grew that business. So,
and I think a lot of what those videos do very well as well is it shows the dirty behind the scenes. Most of us think don't show anything until it's complete, but actually what dealers do. Well, but what a lot of dealers do really well is when they show you the project and they're showing the cable ducts and they're showing things that you take for granted and they don't think it's pretty enough, but actually that's the stuff.
And that's also what the audience want, because
especially
our audience for this
integrators.
Our audience is the dealers. We learned this in like season 1. It became integrators learning from other integrators or learning about other integrators. And we've never really done, we've got you guys, we filmed HD Anywhere, and we've done some of our suppliers. So the guys that manufacture our lighting.
Or metal enclosure.
For Activision as well. So it's been nice kind of bringing more into it, but we're just wanting to create an outlet for people to enjoy learning about the industry and the people and the companies. So I'll let you take it onto onto products.
Onto products. Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing I think is we're obviously very different companies, right? We do kind of lighting control, automation. You're doing kind of more on the speakers and obviously Activision side as well. But we're both on the periphery of a control system.
Yeah.
Well, your products can work without a control system, but ours definitely need a control system.
We end up all being part of.
We're in that CI space, aren't we? Where we need other things for our product to work, right? Do you do your own amps now? You do?
No. We have amplifiers within the subwoofers, so powered subwoofers.
Sure.
And we keep dabbling because obviously with Revo we were developing electronics from scratch.
Got it.
With amplification, 2.1 systems, Class D amplifier, the whole tuning everything. And we've not done it yet for Gallo. And we keep coming back to the discussion
because it's that whole relying on a third party, isn't it? And our products are designed to work on with third party system, right? They're designed for that, So our motion sensors or our keypads need KNX actuators. The sensors need a control for Lutron, control for a Crestron, whatever system behind them to be able to work, right? But the nice thing is those systems they're the glue, right? They're the glue in the house that's stitching stuff together. And I think if I was to look at speakers, your domain and keypads or sensors, keypads and sensors are inputs and speakers are outputs, right? That's like pretty simple stuff. And then the opportunities for those two worlds to come together in the house, for me, are things like more around vacancy detection rather than occupancy, right? So most people
not what you think of automatically.
Which is not what you think of. Like most people think, well, I walk into the room, I want my lights to turn on. Yeah, cool. Obviously, that's a primary application for motion sensors, right? But the vacancy is just as important. You haven't been in that room for 15 minutes. The audio's still on, or the amps are still on. Everything's on. It's a kid's bedroom or whatever. They just left it on. Turn it off. It doesn't need to be on because they vacated the room. And then on the flip side of that, when you walk into, I've seen quite a nice implementation where you walk into like a really premium kind of spa environment in a luxury house. Just turning some like spa, that gentle, like, I can't even do it. The calming kind of, like raindrop kind of vibe. Just use a sensor to turn that on as you walk into that environment, because suddenly you're tapping into another sense, aren't you? You might have the smell, but then you've got a bit of audio, the lighting dims up, and it just adds to that experience to like automate the space with audio.
Because I just think of my default is Faradite turns on your lights. For me,
that is the primary.
It's not being very creative. Like we'll come home from like a week's holiday back. We'll have been abroad. We'll come back in, and the music's still playing in the kitchen. Or I'll go out for an afternoon and no one's been in the house all day, and the music, and it's not using a huge amount of power, but you just want it to work.
Yeah, or if you are listening to audio, right, let's imagine you just want audio throughout your house, right? That's just what you want. You want a certain radio station playing in every room in your house. You've got all multi-room audio, right? You want the sound to follow you around the house. Like, as you walk into the hallway, you want the speakers in the hallways just to fade up so that music is following you around. You don't want to walk between rooms and not have that constant music experience, but you equally don't want to have your whole entire house playing in every single room, because that's just ridiculous.
You'll lie in bed sometimes and realize there's still music coming from the speakers in the ceiling. And
So it is a sideline application, it is not the primary use, right? But I think there's a lot of space, especially in cinemas, where you've got projection equipment that actually has a certain number of hours that it's useful for.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the kind of room that, the kids go in there, they turn it on, they watch something, they leave it.
Yeah.
And then you go on holiday and you realize you've left that projector on. Yeah. Obviously, projectors have built-in safety mechanisms, but obviously having a sensor in there, it's just, actually, yeah, there's no one in this room.
And that's
why we released. That's why we released black sensors.
Yes, that's right.
In the first instance,
yes,
specifically for that particular case.
But you're right. I think 85% of the switching actions that our sensor does is lighting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
But
99% probably. Yeah.
It's also missing a trick though.
Oh, 100%. We did a case not long ago. I turned his shower on. Literally, the solenoid valve for the water opens based on motion. He opens his shower door, which is kind of a mad application. But yeah, theoretically, it's an input. Do what you like with it.
And it's just a matter of bringing your installers through that journey. Like you're on a job, you're speccing for a job. Just think about how these can do the audio as well, because by default they're just doing right. Sensors are sorted, lights are fine. On to the next.
You probably get the same thing. Some of your dealers. What a lot of our dealers do is they put a cable in every ceiling.
Yeah.
On those initial consultations, the customer's saying, "I don't want it in that room.
Yes.
I don't want it in that room." But our dealers are smart enough to know, let's put a cable everywhere, and then they look like the genius at that stage of the project when they go, "Oh, motion sensor would have been nice in here," and they're like, "Yeah, cool. Give us a day."
Because once they've experienced it in their bathrooms and utilities and their hallways, which are the spaces where people typically think of putting sensors.
Yes, no
that the integrator or the homeowners say, actually, no, I really want it in that space and that space, and just a little bit of extra cabling infrastructure. And actually, I think it would be fair to say that's a big difference we've seen between the UK business and our American business, right? That in the UK, and Europe as well, right? So in Europe, they're very much used to putting sensors everywhere. You know, like
that's the default.
That's the default is
really?
To put sensors. Yes,
Mainland Europe.
Yeah.
Mainland Europe, they use a lot more volume of sensors in the house generally.
It's interesting.
You know, so they put them in things like your kitchens and maybe your bedrooms for turning the lights off, but not necessarily on.
Yeah.
And then in the UK, we're quite mixed bag. There's certainly people that go the full hog, and there's certain people that very much stick to just bathrooms and utilities, hallways, that kind of thing. And in America, it's just bathrooms and utility, walk-in wardrobes, that kind of thing. They really haven't moved into the kind of widest rooms. That's what we're kind of finding.
Is that?
I mean, the market's a lot bigger, so the numbers are bigger. But
is it an environmental thing? Are the Europeans being? Because
we never make the argument that motion sensors are an energy-saving part of the story.
Okay.
I could never personally stand behind that as a message. Yes, they might turn lights off, but nowadays lights are so efficient; it's not a huge amount of energy. You can bring your heating back based on vacancy, like we touched on earlier. Yes, that's a much better energy saving. But we never really shout too hard about energy saving. And what annoys me is like it's a convenience, it's a luxury thing having automated stuff happen around the house. It's
for a small amount of money, given the price of the whole project, when this could just turn into magic.
Exactly.
For the cost of a few sensors.
Yeah.
For me, that's the difference.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, we had that project the other day. Well, I say that for about 3 years ago now. We're interviewing the homeowner, right? What's the most amazing thing on your house? And he had like stealth cinema and big. I mean, mega money, like millions, spent on AV and everything. And his best feature in his house was what he calls his nighttime Wii sensor.
Brilliant.
Little sensor on his bed that just brought in some nice lights, enabled integrators to do. The timeout was set perfectly. So as he exited the bathroom, got back to his bed, the lights faded around just in time, time to his walk and all that kind of stuff. And that was his favorite feature. And that was like, what, $100, whatever it was, next to nothing compared to everything else he had in his house.
Because it removes the problem with that is if you wake up in the middle of the night, you need to go for a pee, you have to work so you get your phone and put the torch on and put the lights on. You don't want the bathroom light to come on fully. So you have this stream, you're relying on ambient light to get you there.
Absolutely. And that's the other benefit of having the control system in the middle, right? So if you get rid of that control system and you go down to a normal motion sensor, which is basically a relay in the device, it's just going to turn on your light at full brightness, right? That's your your normal go down to your electrical wholesaler. That's your normal PIR, right? When if you've got the control system in there, then you can start to add the logic. It's nighttime, so therefore only turn the light on at 5%. It's nighttime
after 11 o'clock at night. We're not brushing our teeth and having. It's nighttime.
That's actually most of the conversation we have with dealers, especially at trade shows, when they're asking about what does the sensor do. What a sensor does is really quite simple. It detects in infrared moving piece of.
It's about how small you can make it. It's how discreet.
The logic conversation is actually most of what we're talking about. What do you want it to control? How do you want it to control it? That's actually the kind of magic piece. The sensor itself is.
And I get, and the difference between our KNX sensors and our dry contact sensors is with dry contact, there's no cleverness in the device. all the cleverness and logic is coming in the control system.
Okay.
When in KNX, our KNX sensor probably has about 100,000 or 100 times more code in it than our Volt 3 one, because it has all the logic built into it. So I think there's only like 400 parameters you can set unbelievably. Not that you'd see that looking at it, but if you dig and all the different channels and everything.
And that's a requirement to make a KNX product?
Not a requirement. The KNX is just the comms standard.
Okay.
So you can make a product as simple or as...
Yeah, but all of that logic and programming that has to be included in the sensor, you see. So it makes it a way more complicated or advanced device because it's got all this functionality in it. When if we connect our sensor to a Lutron system, for example, you're using the logic that's in the Lutron system, or you're using the logic that's in the Crestron system, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, okay.
You know. So yeah, it's a different world.
Right, so we're off to see Durgesh and Nucleus next. I've never been. And I've seen some pictures. I know what you've done with our speakers in the showroom. So yeah, I've got 2 hours to get there. It's an hour and a half, and
you'll be fine.
We've got bags of stuff. So
you've got a lot to pack up.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you very much.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
It's been awesome.